What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my review of FiveM's multi-characters. In this review, I'm going to take a closer look at the features and functionality of this script and provide an unbiased assessment of its performance in 6 categories. Those categories are features, functionality, customization, performance, compatibility, and ease of installation. So whether you're a seasoned FiveM server owner or just starting out, you'll want to stick around and see if FiveM's multi-characters is the right fit for your server. So let's dive in and see what this script has to offer. All right, now this isn't going to be a long review because there is only really one thing that this script does, a very specialized thing. It is compatible with qbcore and ESX, which we'll get to a little bit later in the configuration, how that's done. Right off the bat, first impressions, I really like the presentation. I like the way that the characters come on. When you select your next one, one walks off, the next one walks on. I think that's really unique and a really neat feature. And I also really like the way that the background is kind of blurred. Now what they've done is they place you in a spot actually on the map, and then they blur the background so that it kind of gives you a backdrop back there. But what's really neat about it is every player that logs on, while they're in the character selection, they're in a separate server bucket, which means that they're in a separate server instance where other people can't see them and they can't see other people and all like that. So I mean, you're not going to get characters that are stacked up on top of each other whenever you have 2 people trying to select a character at the same time or anything like that. I think that's a really neat feature. But yeah, so it's just very, very slick. In my opinion, having something like this as a server owner is going to automatically kind of give your server the vibe, especially to new players, that you know what you're doing, you're serious about developing a server, and you're not just some dude that just threw together a default qbcore server and you're just using all the default scripts. I mean, they're actually going to, you know, in my mind, take you a lot more seriously and be more apt to stick around after checking out your server. I mean, this is a very, very good first impression for somebody that is just starting out in your server, in my opinion. Now we're going to step over and we're going to look at the config and see kind of what's going on with it and go into that. All right, now taking a look at the config here, you can see right off the bat there that has some really cool configuration options. They have a lot of compatibility for, like, for example, your weather sync if you use QB weather sync or CD easy time. They also let you set your weather type. I don't know why you would want it to be anything other than clear, but you know what? They give you the option. Also, I like the fact that they support several different skin managers. We use Aluminum Appearance in our server, but they also support FiveM Appearance, which would be for ESX, and QB Clothing, which would be for obviously qbcore. But there are a lot of configuration options in here to make it compatible with, I guess you could call them aftermarket scripts for different aspects in your server. I also like the fact that you can either use a custom skin creator or not. If you use just default QB clothing, you can set it to that. If you use a custom skin creator, such as FiveM's character creator, which I will be doing a review on very soon, then you can set it to that, and you can go into, it says here, the config and config.client or config client Lua, and you can actually add your own custom functions in for any kind of character creator or anything like that. If you use anything other than QB clothing or their script, you're probably going to have to reach out to the developers or look at documentation to kind of see what the function to open the character creator would be, which might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but at least you have the option. Also right here we've got the relog command, so you can set it so if people do /relog, then it'll take them back out to the character selector screen. If not, there is a configurable spot which is set out at the airport just inside the terminal for them to be able to go to fly out of the city, so to speak, and choose another character. You can also set your coordinates where you can see, like, where the player sees their characters. It's set at the Diamond Casino right now. I've left it just the same because I'm not screwing with all that. You're also able to set your spawn location, which I believe this is set out at the airport, right in the middle on the second floor or something like that. Then here's where you can change your character spot. You can set the spot for that, the blip for that. So I mean, there's all kinds of customization. You can also customize the events for your notifications. So if you use OK, if you use just qbcore notify, if you use VMS notify, then you'll be able to set those right here easily in the config, which is really nice. Then you got your messages down here. If you want to have a default skin that your character or that your player's characters come in as, I know, like for me personally, I'm enraged when somebody comes in as just like the default bald guy. So if you want to kind of change that up a little bit, then you can do that there. If you're using another skin creator, it's not really going to be a thing, especially if you're using FiveM's character creator, then this isn't really going to apply. I will say that the two, like, it's very, very compatible, obviously, with the FiveM's character creator, very fluid in the transitions between the two. So most compatibility is going to be for FiveM's character creator. But yeah, so that's the configuration of it all. It's very easy to install. All you really have to do is just drag and drop it in there, config it, and go. So, I mean, like I said, it's very, very, very simple on this particular script here. As long as you just know kind of what your skin manager is, your character creator, things like that, then you're able to easily get this put in. I think I installed it in like maybe 30 seconds. Like, it's very, very easy to do. But like I said, I didn't change much. I didn't change spawn locations or anything like that. But if you want to have the option, they've made that available, which I think is really cool. Like, if you want to have an extra level of uniqueness, then you can have it to where they spawn. Well, they create their character in a different environment than default, which I think is really neat. Now back to the performance. You can see right here, you might be able to see up at the top left of my screen, I'm getting around 110 frames per second just running this right now. I know that I've seen in their promo video, the resource monitor, it's running at 0 milliseconds. So it's very, very efficient script. But that's pretty much going to be the broad overview. Now let's get into the ratings in the 6 categories that I talked about earlier. Now, before we get into my ratings for this script, if this has been of value to you, and if you'd like to see more, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and turn on notifications, all that good stuff to see more of these. But yeah, let's get to it. First, we're going to look at features. Now on this, for features, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. There are a lot of features that I didn't really touch on a little bit ago, but I'll touch on them now. There is the ability for admins to be able to add or delete character slots. I told you before that you're able to set a default. That's going to be in the config server.lua. This is an open source script, so there is that. You're not going to have to worry about any kind of encryption or anything like that. So there are going to be things that you can configure. Also in that config.server, you're going to have the ability to configure their starter items. So if you just want them to have an ID card and a phone, you don't want to have a driver's license just yet. If you just want them to have an ID card, whatever it is that you want them to have. And also you're going to be able to set starter money. I've noticed that the starter money for this gets overridden by qbcores, so that is a thing. Or at least it has in our instance. I've set that to false, and I just let qbcore handle the starter money. So you don't really have to change anything there. If you've already got something set up in there that you like, you're not going to have to set it up in here. You just set that to false. But that is a cool, pretty cool feature. One of the features that I really like is the ability for admins to, add on extra character slots. What you have to do is just do, you add in or do the command. You have to have the person's FiveM license, and then like you can set their amount of character slots. So if you want them to have 7, then if you can set it to 7, on and on and on. So that's a very neat feature. Also, admins can delete characters live in the server, so you can just delete somebody's character if you need to for whatever reason, if they get banned or anything like that, or if they come in as naked for whatever reason. Yeah, so there's that. Our next category is going to be functionality. In functionality, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. It does one thing, and it does it extremely well. And that's really all I can say about it. I mean, it's just a very slick script, and I really like it. Customization, we're going to give that a 5 out of 5 stars. There are a ton of customization options, a ton of integration with other third-party, scripts. So you're not just stuck using the default and then having to figure out how to code it in, like later on. Like they've done the legwork for the most popular mods, or for the most popular third-party skin create, or clothing your clothing menus, things like that, which I think is very, very useful. Performance, that's also going to get it a 5 out of 5 stars. Very light on the resources on the server. Very light on the resources for players, especially given how slick it is and how well it's presented, and just like the shininess, I guess you could say, of it. Very impressive that they were able to get the performance that they were able to get. Compatibility, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars, simply because it's not really compatible with things like QB apartments or any kind of housing strips. PS housing, you're gonna have to do a little bit of legwork. You're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna change in there. Probably gonna have to get some help from the dev in order to integrate things like PS housing or anything like that into this script, because this script pretty much just like puts people out at the airport once they've selected a character, if you don't have a spawn selector like after the fact. And our final category, ease of installation, it's going to get a 5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I installed this in 30 seconds. Very easy, highly configurable, very easy to configure. There are good notes, like there's good notation in the config here that explains well exactly what each config option does. But that is going to be my review for FiveM's multi-character. I'm also going to throw a link down in the description to their store, to this exact resource, so you guys can check it out and see if you want to get it or not. The cost of it is fairly low. It's like $20. And yeah, but that's going to do it for this review. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.